Welcome back to Flashpoint. Before we were interrupted by the business we have to do around here, Nolan Finley, you wanted to say.
Yeah, I mean, if you look, Richard Suba talked about the fight for suburban voters. If this economy keeps cooking like it's been cooking, adding jobs, adding income now for the first time really in a decade, stock market up now, you know, Friday it topped 29,000 before it fell back a little. People are going to look at that, and when you talk about voting your interests, they're going to say, well, I don't know how much. And a lot of it obviously depends on who the Democrat is, but am I going to trust this economy to someone who says we want to tear everything up? And I think that'll be a factor in Trump's favor if it continues.
Or it's the economy, stupid. Is it just that simple? Always boils down to that?
It is, and I think Donald Trump has been fighting for the economy. I think the other part of that poll was that all the Democrats are underwater. All of their unfave is higher than their fave, and they still have room to grow. So I think as voters start to see that the Democrats want to take away their insurance with Medicare for all, that means if you have Blue Cross through your employer, you will lose your health insurance under Bernie Sanders' plan. And I think as voters start to learn that, I think they'll come back to Trump and the Republican Party.
I think we have to see who the nominee is, and given this sort of stronger economy, people would argue that a lot of that happened or started to happen under Obama's watch. But aside from that, why is it that only 1/3 of the people are in this poll prepared to vote for the president? A, and then B, why are 51% saying they'd be willing to consider someone else?
But because it's still, you know, it is an economic, all elections sort of boil down to economics, I think, except maybe this one where character is, and we've talked about that all year, character is at the forefront. But you mentioned Obama. If you look at the Democratic field, even if you give credit to Obama for this economic surge, look at the Democratic field, very few Obama-like candidates there to choose from for these Democratic voters.
Well, I would say that, you know, I know we're talking about the economy and how well it's going and the direction it's going, but character is an issue.
It is.
And behind the scenes, some of the finest Republican friends I have talk about how disappointed they are in this president and all the missteps that he's made, all the problems that are.
That's no
so you
secret.
weigh these imperfections and these problems and these characteristic issues over. Okay, but we don't know if he's stable or not, but the economy's good.
You're looking at your IRA, your 401k account, and you're saying, how much am I willing to risk that? The one thing I would
a man who's got his finger on the button,
but
who's willing to start a war,
who has proved this week that he's going to keep Americans safe when they're killed in Iraq.
Yeah, Iran worked out fairly well for him so far. But if we look at polling, and one thing I would caution about polling is still a lot of people out there who aren't willing to say, yeah, I'm
one
for
way or
Trump.
the other, yes.
And not
yes.
will not say that to pollsters, will not say that to anyone. You still get a lot of people who whisper, yeah, I like Trump, you know, and aren't very vocal about it. I would count that in 2 or 3 points at least in any poll I read.
Jill Torrey mentioned Bernie Sanders. I want to get back to the fact that he's not doing as well in the poll as he was in the last poll, which was done this past summer. But the guy who won the Michigan primary, Michiganders were feeling the burn at the time. What explains that? Is it because of the other candidates? Is it the health problems that Bernie had to go through? What is going on there, do you think?
Yeah, well, I think it's a broader field. There's a wider variety of candidates who are involved who are eating certain portions up. Again, we have the open primary, so there may have been people who voted for him because they didn't like their other choices in the Republican primary, or they didn't support Secretary Clinton. Long story short, I think we want to learn from the past, but we want to look to the future. I don't underestimate Bernie Sanders and that his support is hard, and that the money he raises, it will continue to cascade. So I think that he'll be a factor. But you know, back to something that Nolan said, which I appreciate, is that we do have, I think, a wide variety of candidates, and we cannot presume a Biden or a Bloomberg candidacy probably looks far different than a Warren Sanders candidacy.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would take issue with the fact that Republicans are going to vote in this primary. I don't think they are. Donald Trump is at 95% approval in the Republican Party. Republicans are happy. They're fired up to support him. I would say Joe Biden, who appears to be leading
Issue
a
with
lot
the
of polls.
suggestion that Republicans might not turn out to vote, you
No,
mean?
issue that they might come
Switch
in
over.
and vote
Oh,
in the
and switch.
Democratic
Oh, I got
presidential
you,
primary.
got you,
I don't think they will. Republican approval rating for Donald Trump is at 95% right
But
now.
that's Republican approval rating. We have an open primary, and I think in the gubernatorial elections, for instance, whether it be Whitmer or it be Granholm, there were hundreds of thousands of crossover votes in those elections.
I got to leave it there. Gang, thanks very much for the great conversation. Great to have you all here. Thank you for being here as well. Meet the Press coming up next, right after Mitch Albom's Heart of Detroit, and I hope we'll see you right back here next Sunday for Flashpoint.